Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache from NacheSnow.com and author of the Life Cleanse Journal. Welcome to the podcast, people. All right. Today we have Rebecca Orlove on, and she's the founder and creator of Orlove Design Company. I think you guys are really going to like this episode. A few seasons ago, I did a brand series that you guys absolutely loved. So I wanted to make sure that I brought back on a brand expert to help you guys figure out how to take your brand to the next level, or if you're just starting, like what to think about. But before I begin, first, if you just take 2 seconds and rate the podcast, it really helps. I promise you all. I didn't even know this, but a few weeks ago, I was in the top 100 for one of my categories, which was the marketing and management categories. I was like, what? I mean, and this is huge because there are thousands and thousands of podcasts, but it's because you guys are listening, you guys are rating. So when I tell you it really impacts the show, it does. So if you could just take a few seconds just to rate the show 5 stars, I'd really appreciate it. Also, I just wanted to let you guys know the pre-sale is still going on for my productivity course. And for those, I got a question about what I did for the Boss Project, which was all about how to organize your time to make space for your passion. And people really resonated with that. And I might even just rename the course that, because essentially that's what I'm talking about, is really how to give yourself back more time in order to do the things you love. But it's going to be all the things that I had in that talk, but then just exploded. I'm also going to give you guys some real examples on how to best organize your time. I'm going to have videos in there. You guys know how I do it. I like videos. I like animation. I like all the things. So if you're interested in this, I'm trying to get enough signups, before I commit my nights and weekends to doing this. So if you're serious about really getting your time back and making time for your passion and learning about new tools and how to use those tools effectively, and also about how to use your journal to get where you need to be, head on over to NacheSnow.com/time. That's NacheSnow.com/time. And right now I'm doing it 50% off. So head on over there and let's do this. It's a 30-day money back guarantee, but I'm telling you guys, I'm hardcore. I'm all about time and I'm all about my money. So if you are too, or you want to be, definitely check it out. Okay, I'm going to just jump right into this episode. You guys are going to love Rebecca. She gives really good tips on how you can really up-level your brand. I think she just has like a great story too. Just another story about how you start off in one direction and life is funny, in how things just come up and you end up doing just a little bit of a pivot that kind of changes the direction that you decide to go with your career. And in her case, it was starting her design company full time. So get out your pens and paper, especially if you have a business. If you're just here to hear about inspirational women, just kind of sit back and relax and have a listen to Rebecca's story. Okay, here we go. Hello, Rebecca. Welcome to the Studio 78 podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I can't wait to dig into your business. Your website and your products are absolutely beautiful. When I saw them, I was like, I got to have her on. I got to email her.
Thank you. Thank you.
But before we get into your business, Orlove Design, can you tell the listeners a little bit about your background, like before Orlove Design?
Sure, absolutely. So my background before launching my own business 2 years ago has been in the corporate world. I worked in ad agencies in New York and Los Angeles, and I worked as a producer. So I would essentially project manage TV commercials and content.
Oh, wow. How did you get into that? Did you go to school for it, or?
I did, yeah. So
Okay.
I went to school. I'm a film major, like media arts is like the term. And so I have my Bachelor of Arts in film, essentially. And I pursued advertising right out of college. And I started working as a production coordinator in an ad agency. And I kind of worked my way up through the ranks. Back then, it seems like a while ago, but I really feel so grateful looking back. I really had fantastic mentors, and I really leaned into that, and still am friends with a lot of those people now. And so I feel very grateful that I had a lot of support and help on my career journey, and especially with the mentorship. That was like a huge part of it.
Ooh, pretty cool. And it's nice that you lived, I feel like, a little bit all over the country, like on the West Coast, on the East Coast.
Yes, all right. I keep bouncing back and forth. Yeah, so I'm originally born in Washington, D.C., and I grew up in Maryland. I did move, my family and I moved to Los Angeles while I was in high school, so I finished high school there, and I kind of been between New York and Los Angeles for most of my career, and then I moved to Las Vegas, where I currently reside, a few years ago.
Wow. So from the sounds of it, you can tell me if I'm incorrect or not, but it sounds like you had like some pretty cool projects, and you worked for some really cool agencies. At what point did you say, I think I might want to work for myself?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, I have had some interesting experience. Absolutely. Really amazing experience, really challenging stories like most people have through their careers. But I worked with neat agencies who had neat clients, like Revlon, DirecTV, PlayStation, Toyota. So I was able to work with these like massive brands and kind of see the inner workings of how they work. And we, as their agency of record, would partner with them on what their campaign initiatives were. So that was really cool to see that. And I worked with really big companies, agency side, and really small ones. So I got to see how nimble startups worked, as well as large, like more corporate companies. So that was very cool. As I mentioned, I moved to Las Vegas a few years ago. That was a personal move. And after having my young daughter, who's now 5, I decided a few years ago, she was about 3 at the time, I said, I think I'm ready to try this business idea that I have. I've always enjoyed working kind of one-to-one, or helping do storytelling one-to-one. So I thought, you know what, this is like the time, let's do this. I had kind of worked with a few agencies, during that time, and I just felt uninspired. And I realized that I was so inspired by people's stories, and I wanted to help them. I also kind of have a background in blogging and social conversations. I was an early adopter to blogging in 2007 and 8. There really wasn't a lot of blogging going on at the time. I remember, I still have them. I have these like old spiral like notebooks, and I would like rip out pages of magazines and tape them in. This is like my teens and 20s. And, essentially that was my first blog, was like my version. It was like a digital version of my like inspiration book, right? My magazine tears. So I started blogging about small space living. When I lived in New York in my mid-20s, I think my apartment was like 250 square feet. It was just like very tiny. But it has exposed brick wall. I'm like, that's really cool. So, when you're in your 20s, like you're out and about anyway. So I was rather. So yeah, I kind of found my beat was like lifestyle, decor, interiors. And I started writing my own small space blog called Loving Living Small at the time. And then there was a kind of a call to be an editor for Apartment Therapy, and I applied and I got that. So I wrote with those guys for 4 years. They're great. I started writing for other neat sites, Refinery 29, HGTV, House, Pop Sugar, Washingtonian Magazine, House Beautiful. So like kind of a fun experience. And I realized, looking back, it's like I was really part of that wave of like shaping community. At the time, the role of like community manager wasn't really anything. It was just starting. So that was neat to be part of that time.
And I was going to ask too, so you're blogging while I'm assuming you were still working full time for the agency when you first started your blog. Okay.
It was my side hustle, I guess.
Right. And, as far as like, getting to write for the likes of like Refinery 29. How did you go about that? I know it's so weird because like the year that you did it is very different than now, right? Like, cause you were kind of in that wave where everything was like, oh my God, there's this blogging world. I mean, you were like right time, right place, but I'm still curious, like, how did you get yourself out there and really, published on all these different places?
So I think because it was such an early time and things were still kind of forming as far as like even a lot of these blogs, which are now like full on media publishing companies, right?
Yeah.
They were looking for contributors and content. And because especially with apartment therapy, I published so much at the time. I think we had to post like 3 or 4 times a day. It was like quantity over quality. I mean, it was quality too, but they wanted a lot of conversations and blog posts up. But, people would just contact me. They'd find me. It was like through my blog or through some of these other sites I was writing for. So that was really cool. And I was like, sure. I just, I kind of was very open-minded. I wanted to like try new things. And it was neat to be able to contribute to these sites and be asked to do that.
Yeah. And I think people could still apply that today because I think sometimes people try to go for like these big names, but there are startups starting every week, every month, and so it's like maybe go for some of like those smaller magazines, online or physical magazines, and get published. And then once you start getting published, you can go for like some of the big guys like HTV or whatever else, applies to someone's industry.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's like a 24/7 cycle, and people, these companies and brands and blogs, they all need fresh content. They all need engaging content, new voices. I mean, you could have a blog with like 3 followers and still have an amazing point of view. Like, don't let that stop you. Numbers don't really mean a lot, to be honest. I mean, sure, there's analytics and it's nice to have the leverage of like subscribers, but it's about engagement. So if you have something interesting to say and your community's engaged, absolutely go for it. And you know what? At least put it out there. You never know, right? You never know.
That's true. I mean, right. The worst that can happen is someone will say no and you just go on to the next, next company. It's not like the end of the world. You're not broken. Like, it's okay.
No. And you know what I love too? To me, it's just being confident in who you are and your point of view. And by the way, and I've said this before on other like webinars I've done, I love the word confidence. Somehow, I think over time, it's gotten an interesting, not really negative, but it's got an interesting stigma attached to it. To me, confidence is not an egotistical thing or an ego-driven thing in my point of view. Confidence is the action of, right? So it's the act of doing it. So like, meaning like, you know what, I'm going to just give this a shot and I'm going to totally fall on my face, or maybe it'll work out, but it's the action of doing. So I just think finding the confidence to say, you know what, I'll give this a shot. And the outcome is the outcome, but the action of doing it is really, in my opinion, what matters.
Love that. I agree 100% because sometimes when I talk to people who are looking to start a side hustle or start a business, it's always like, oh, where there's, already so many other companies out there. No one will really want to buy my whatever. I only have 100 followers on Instagram or whatever. And I'm like, you have to like believe in yourself. I'm like, I know people who have 400 followers, but they make 6 figures a year,
I mean, yeah, that's awesome. Exactly. I mean, listen, there's people with like companies or influencers with like 700,000 followers. But if you look at their posts, like only 1,000 people like a picture. I mean, that is skewed. Like something's off there. And then there might be someone with like 400 followers and all 400 people are like, yes. So, I mean,
we
listen.
Love you.
Yeah, we love you. And it's about like what you have to say and your point of view. Just believe in what you're doing and your tribe will show up for sure.
Love it. Okay, so you're blogging. Everybody's loving you. You're getting like...
I wouldn't say that. I mean, that's very sweet, but just like having fun blogging, sure.
Well, you're able to at least get some opportunities and at least some more exposure. So how did having kind of like a blog as like this side project, hobby, or side hustle turn into you saying like, you know what, maybe I want to start like a design business?
Right. So that's a good question. So with my background, of course, in advertising and understanding project management and what the hierarchy of a business is, for example, like, there's the operation side, there's the, creative side. It's all the silos that go into like a business, like a service or product-based business. There's different functionality to it. Pairing that with my kind of like social conversation and community engagement and really enjoying those conversations. And some of them were kind of funny or some of them weren't very nice. You know, I got like not the best comments, but about some of the post topics, but, you know, just kind of seeing that there were so many awesome opinions out there, good, bad, and indifferent. But I really enjoy the idea of like storytelling. And I think that every business has a story to share, a narrative. So it was really understanding all those things together. So when I developed Oil of Design Co., it was like, you know what, let me work with lifestyle businesses that I love and help them take their business plan or their service or product and translate that into a visual story. And I've always loved website design. In fact, I took like a Dreamweaver class. Oh my gosh, 15 plus years ago. I wish I stuck with that because I'm not a coder. I don't do coding. I do know how to code a bit and I do understand reading code, but I'm not a developer. I am a designer, which means I do art direction and graphic design and builds, but always with a design thinking and strategic background. And so I thought, you know what, let me start this business. And so far it's been awesome. I mean, listen, with any business, it's really highs and challenges too. So it's always a learning curve. But yeah, that's kind of what compelled me was to be like, I want to help other people share their stories.
So when you did this, just curious, did you do it, you know, as a side hustle, or was it like when you went to Vegas, you're like, you know what, I'm going to start fresh and I'm going to start with this new company. So it was like all in. I just wasn't sure if it was ease into it or like, nope, this is happening.
Yeah, it was the latter. Like I kind of went for it. I know there's all different like thoughts on, you know, you should side hustle your idea first or just go for it clean. I ended up going for a clean start because I had been uninspired by the agency world where I was. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot at this point. It felt like the intersection of time felt like a good point at that time, you know, like, let me give this a try. And that's kind of what inspired me to go for it. I already knew that I wanted to, basically what my business plan was, and I really was working on that. And I developed relationships with some communities. So I was in these kind of closed Facebook communities where people were talking about things that they needed. And so I thought, let me kind of like get in there and ask some questions. And it was almost like a focus group, but I got good feedback. And so I started sharing a bit without being sales. I wasn't like it was promotion in a way, but I was just trying to get information. And in doing that in an organic way, I was able to connect with like my first client.
Oh, very cool. And that's what all it takes, right? Is that first client. And then you're like, okay, this is a business.
The first client, by the way, she's still my client because she comes back to me, which is, to me, it's all about building relationships and keeping that. I'm cultivating those amazing relationships you're building. You know, that's like the core of my business is like cultivating relationships, being that partner no matter what, whether it's a flat fee project and we've wrapped, I'm always here for you, or we're working like ongoing on a retainer, but it's about being there for them when they need the help. So it's funny because she was with me through my first project, of course, and my business has really, it evolves all the time. And so we did work together just a few months ago. And she's like, wow, Rebecca, you really changed your business. I'm like, I know. Thank you for being with me on that first like sketchy one. That was kind of sketchy back then. But, you know, listen, I'm honest and transparent because it is, you know, she was kind of with me through that first start, but it was a good experience, thankfully.
And then with that first client, did you already have your website built? Or were you just like, okay, let me take on a few clients and then I'll really put time into building my online presence?
So that's another good question. So I already had my website built. It is absolutely not the website you see today. It is nothing like it. I mean, it is nothing like the website I have today. That doesn't mean I wasn't designing it. I understood immediately that because I was in the business of servicing, you know, the service I was providing was, of course, website design and build and art direction. I knew that I had to have a product that showcased that. So that was my business, right? People were going to come to my site to see what I was doing. And at the time, yes, I think it was a decent site, but I was still kind of understanding what my model was. When I started, I only offered website design. But through my consultations and understanding what my clients were looking for or really what their needs were, I started growing my services to accommodate them. For example, some of my clients were leaving existing firms or leaving existing companies to go out on their own. And they were still kind of working out what their own business model was. You know, what was their brand voice? For example, like, what was their mission statement? Who are they? What do they do? Why are they unique? What exactly are their services? What are their capabilities? You know, all these things. Of course, those are things you need when you write content for a website. So I decided to help them develop that through what is now my brand voice package. So I will do one-on-one coaching essentially to help clients understand their business model, essentially write their mission, their executive summary, and all that good stuff. But I created a lot of my services because clients were asking for them. So it's great. Like I don't want to lose a client, because I didn't offer a service.
Right.
Now I am very thoughtful about my services. So I call my services to market services. I really focus on, I call it light bulb to launch. So whether you are a new business or you're an established one with new initiatives, I really want to help you get up and running with your emerging idea. And with that is, of course, your brand voice. So what is your promise and your value, your mission statement, your website design and feel, your logo design, any of your content generation, like what are you sharing? So I really want to focus more on that, is kind of what I determine with my business over time.
Yeah, no, that is great because a lot of times, sometimes people, I feel like, go to an agency and they're just like, oh, I just need a website. But right, if you don't know what you're trying to say, it's like, okay,
Right.
like, what's your website about?
Tell me more. Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
So, you've touched on it a little bit already, but just to make sure that the listeners kind of understand like all the things you offer, can you just walk us through like, was it, because I know your blog was 2008. So did you kind of officially start Or Love Design in like 2009 or was it also in 2008?
Well, I started my business actually in 2016. So I was still in the agency world and working, up until then. So it's only been about 2+ years that I had this particular business going, as like an official business. So, so originally we still focus on website design and builds, and kind of, I say Or Love Design Co. is a creative marketing firm with a focus on that, but we do offer a suite of to market services such as logo design, brand voice design. We do customer experience cycles, which is essentially how your customer what is their path to purchase, whether it's a product or service. We help define that. And we also do ideation and content generation. So if someone's looking for help with their Instagram story templates or how are they going to be sharing a promotion or campaign they want to touch on, we can help them deliver that.
I love it. I mean, these packages are genius. I mean, and I say that only because just talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, they have this idea, right? It could be for a product or a service. They sort of know what they're selling, but they have no clue who their audience is, how just what direction to go with their brand. And I think they don't know, like, there is help out there, like design companies like yours, that where you can like walk them through it and really make sure that when someone goes to their website, it's like helping to tell the story about their particular business, which is a really tricky thing to do.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, the truth is, I think, it's important. Like, we are really solution focused. So we want to really help our clients provide the most essential information. That does not mean it's all your information. We want to just provide enough information that is what your client or your customer is looking for, with the idea that it intrigues them and empowers them to get off of your site and contact you via email or buy your product or call you on the phone, right? Because we all love a warm lead. So your website is your best sales tool, right? It has to have your essential information. You don't want to give it all away. You want to intrigue your site visitor. Every client has their own specific target audience. So we really customize the experience to our client's target. I talked a bit about the customer cycle. We really want to learn your profiles. Like every product or service has 3 to 6 customer personas. They shop in a certain way. They're influenced in a certain way. And so we design a website experience around their customer personas. We want to make sure that they're talking, some people like to shop, late at night. So they want to have certain like wording. Some people like to shop using just the footer. Some people want a lot of content in a certain way. So we kind of develop visual experiences and key messaging around how their personas are influenced. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that the website feels like a delightful and exciting journey for the site visitor. It's like, oh, wow. It's like almost like a choose your own adventure. But the truth is, if it's strategically designed in a manner, we're actually the owner of the website, the brand or company is kind of directing that person through. to get them to where they want them to go, ideally to close a deal.
Yeah. And then, I was just looking through your portfolio. And so I saw for example, the Java neighborhood coffee talk, which is super cute. So for that, did you do where you design their cup and all of that good stuff? Cause I see they have this cute little package to hold the cup. So did you go, I was like, wow, that's a little beyond just regular web design. That's a full package. Yeah.
Yep. So we do that work. So, we do packaging, consumer packaged goods. We do art direction, ideation. We do a lot of neat stuff. But yeah, so that's a great concept project we're working on with clients in Las Vegas, and they're ideally launching this year. They want to have a new style of concept of a neighborhood coffee shop. And so they tasked us, we are collaborating with them on what we call a 360 project, which is everything. So they wanted help with their logo design, their name, the look and feel of their space, the look and feel of their entire collateral package, which is their website, their branding, their logo, of course, everything down to their business cards. So that's a real to market experience that we're doing with them. And that's a pretty long initiative. We're working on a retainer with them.
Mm. And then for businesses out there that have let's say a product or what have you, what are some of the things that they should think about if they're trying to have this cohesive brand where the packaging and the website and the logo and all the things should be working together? What are some of the initial questions they should be asking themselves? How do they even prepare to work with someone like you? What are those questions they should be asking?
Sure. So there's pretty specific category, or pretty, I should say, average categories that we all use, of course, about your company, about the team, the approach, what are your capabilities or your services. And then obviously there's the subcategories, the frequently asked questions and, contact page and, all that good stuff. Now, as far as getting ready, think about, it's not really about you. And it's funny when you think about it, we have a twist on it. So yes, it's your company. So it's your product or service, but it's really about your client, your customer. A website needs to talk directly to them. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's sharing your initiatives and your vision and your brand story, but it's really talking to the emotional core of your audience. They need something and you're there to provide it.
Yes.
And that's how we feel. Yeah.
And then, I feel like everybody's okay, you got to design for mobile first. What have you learned along the way? Because I feel like back in the day, even when I was doing web design, the mobile first thing wasn't a thing. It's you just wanted it to look good on somebody's computer and then you were good. Right? It's who cares how it looks on their phone? But now everybody's on their phone. So how do you kind of deal with that? Do you design for mobile first and then, the computer? Just curious.
Yes, we are a mobile first company. It sounds very like marketing, but yeah, we are mobile first because people are on their phones and their tablets first. So about 10 years ago, they called your laptop a secondary screen. And the first screen the primary screen was the television. People started to then slowly bring their laptops on their lap as they watched television. 10 years later, the primary screen now is your phone or your tablet. Mm-hmm. The secondary screen is still your laptop. And the tertiary screen is the TV, if you even have one these days. So mobile first is really important. So what that really means is what we do at Orla Design Co. is we design we do an onboarding phase, of course, to learn about your business and your goals and your initiatives. But our first design phase is a wireframe phase, which is essentially the blueprint of your website. So we want to see how it's essentially the user experience. So how a curious site visitor will go from A to B to C and so on. So we design inside of a mobile screen because yes, we're on our mobile phones all the time. And the real estate of a screen is smaller than your laptop. So we want to make sure everything looks fantastic. Now, the truth is we work in Squarespace, which we love. It's a fantastic program. It is a templated program, but we strip it down and we work from scratch we have a library of amazing plugins and we do really neat stuff. But what's the beauty of Squarespace is it's fully responsive. So if you design something in mobile, it'll automatically size to the tablet and then to laptop screen. So you always want to make sure you're working, whether it's Squarespace, Wix, WordPress, Webflow, you want to make sure, or you're working with a custom coder, that it is responsive. You don't have to redo that wheel, so to speak, reinvent the wheel, right? It should be fluid across all of your platforms. And these days they really are.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard like a lot of good things about Squarespace. Like I'm like a WordPress person because I just know WordPress. And then I love Shopify also like for product-based businesses. But then Squarespace is the only platform that I haven't tried. And I'm not counting like Wix or anything because I just don't like
I hear you. Well, listen, yeah. I don't really love it either. I love Squarespace. I mean, again, like this is something that anyone can think about their business. This is my business, Orla Design Co., and I want to work in Squarespace. So when I have people come to me, and it does happen pretty frequently, they're like, "Oh, I need a Shopify site," or I want to only work in WordPress. I say to them, "We can help you do layout and design, but we don't work in that space. So we certainly can help you, but we do recommend maybe working with someone who can do the full project with you because it's easier." It's easier for them to work all in one, right? And we're not going to like, come work with us. We're going to take your money and then go work with someone else. We're like, you know what? What's best for these people? Like, you know, we do a consult for every single potential project because we want to get to know the potential client and learn about their company and their vision, but also make sure that they and we align with like my company. I have a list of values and core tenets that I follow, and I look at often to make sure I'm staying, aligning with what I'm doing. I'm staying on track. And so I want to make sure that I'm working with the best people that make sense for my business, right? Not everyone's your client, as I say. So if someone's like, "No, I will only work in WordPress," and I say, "Awesome. Like, we don't do that, but I wish you the best,"
Right.
And that's okay. You have to be okay knowing that not everyone's your client. And I think that's an amazing thing.
Well, I love that because that is being very clear about like what you're willing to do and not do. I think sometimes people are like, I have to do everything. Like if a client wants it in X, I must do it in X, when it's like, no. That's not your client. It's okay to walk away. But I feel like sometimes people feel obligated and then they end up trying to be like this jack of all trade and they never really get very good at what they're doing.
Exactly. And what's funny is I dubbed, and I listen, I had some big learning curves on that, going out of scope, saying yes, being an obliger. And I dubbed at the end of last year, I dubbed 2019 as the year of no. And by the way, that doubled as KNOW, not just NO. And that's a gracious no. But the year of no as KNOW, which is like know your core capacity, know your services, and stay in line. Stay in line with them. Like, exactly. Like, why go all over the place? If you want to, that's fine, but it's not going to benefit you or your clients or your customers. Be essential. I read this fantastic book. It's actually called Essentialism. I've talked about it before because it's so fantastic. I recommend it highly for any business person and really for relationships too. But he has a quote in there where the author says, you can't do everything, but you can do anything. Meaning you can't do every single thing. You cannot do every single thing, but you can do anything. So pick that thing and do it. You don't have to do it all.
Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to knowing your services, I think sometimes, and your clients may have experienced this too, but how did you really work through like knowing you? Because maybe I'm not sure in the beginning, like in 2016, if you were like, nope, this is the type of clients I'm going to have. I'm only going to do Squarespace. How did you get to where you can like confidently speak about, no, this is what my company is about? Because I feel like people struggle with that. They're like, well, I'm not sure. I do this and a little bit of that. And then, it's hard for them to get that focus and know really what their services are.
Well, I really did struggle with it too. It took me, honestly, until just a few months ago. And I've been doing this business for 2 years because I naturally, like most people, I wanted to help when I could. I'm like, well, I can figure that out. Sure. Yeah, let me help you. Or why not? And the truth is, I didn't really know. I was going to figure it out and do my best, but I wasn't being paid for it probably, which is my time and my value, right? You have to have value. And I probably wasn't giving the client the best thing they could have had. I mean, I'd like to say I did, but who knows, right? So I did work with a gal last fall. To be honest, it was not a great experience. It was not a great experience. It was a very big learning curve for me. That project was a lot of miscommunication and mishandling, which I wasn't used to. I was working with her for another client, but I learned so much out of it. So instead of being like, oh, that was terrible, and oh, I didn't like that, she wasn't very nice, it was more like, well, what can I take away from this? And what I took away from that was stay in your lane, right? Decide what your services, you can have 10 services, but then stay in those 10 lanes, decide what you want to do, stay in the lane. So when you're working with clients, you're in control of your company and your business. So you decide what you want to do. So when a client says, oh, can I do number 11? You're like, you know what? We'd love to help you, but we don't do that service. And it's interesting. Like I often see in these communities I'm in, like on Facebook or these closed Google groups, people will often say, oh, I just had this really great consult, but they want to, I told them my fee was XYZ and they want to pay me half of that. But what should I do? And I'm always like, tell them no, thank you.
Right.
Of your business. You say my fee is $500 and that's what your fee is. If they don't want to work with you, guess what? They did you a favor. They're not your client. They're not your client because guess what? Your client would be like, absolutely, here's your $500. And I mean, I like to say to people, it's like, who've asked that question, it's like, could you imagine going to a dentist, having your cavity filled, and then literally saying to the dentist, can I give you just like $10 for that? It's like, whoa, you never do that. So, be confident, right? The action of be confident in your fees, your value, put a price on it and say, this is what my fee is. Boom. And if someone doesn't want to pay it, they're not your client. They're just not.
I 100% agree.
And that's okay, right? It's okay. Yeah. It's a good thing.
You find your right person instead of working for free.
Yeah. But it took me, but to go back to your actual question, it took me a long time to get there. And I, through lots of, starts and, and stops, but I learned a lot and it's very humbling and you just have to go through it, but yeah, no, I did not know from the beginning, to answer your question.
And then I just wanted to ask you, because some people out there are listening and they're like, I want a website. I'm not quite, making money yet. I'm just starting out. Do you have any advice for people who are torn? Like, is a website worth the money? Because I feel like even on the podcast, I've had people who are like, oh my God, having an amazing website with amazing photography and a clear message is awesome. And then I've had other people who are like, oh, well, I didn't really need a website. I just did this and that and it was fine. And I'm probably biased because I have a design background, but I was just wondering, like, if you could give them like advice on like, maybe when they should think about investing in their website, at what point in their business.
Sure. I say invest in it emotionally and build your budget the second you have your idea. And why I say that is because you need to have, because I think the percentage is like 91% of people will go on a brand, company, or someone's website that they want to work or shop from, I think 3 or 4 times before they even contact them. And if you don't have a compelling site that is sharing your visual story and your essential information, you're losing money. Not only that, if you have a site that was listen, DIY is great if you are doing it in a manner that makes sense for your business. But if you're kind of like throwing something together that does not represent your brand, your business, or your service, again, you're losing money because potential clients are going to come and check out your site. And if it doesn't look great, or it's subpar, or it's not showcasing or elevating your brand, they're not going to hire you, most likely.
Yeah.
So having a website, which, you do all this blood, sweat, and tears into building your product or service, you're trying to get these clients, you're hustling. And I call the website, which is kind of falls into like the marketing category. If you leave that 10% on the floor, you're losing money. It is the most imperative 10%, almost more important than your product or service, because you have to have something pertinent to your brand that elevates your brand. Immediately with essential information and beautiful visuals that are perfect for your audience and your product. That's how you do it. And listen, it doesn't have to be so crazy. It just has to be a compelling, beautiful website that has your key messaging and a visual story. And that could be 3 pages.
Right.
That could be really great. It could be 27 pages. The point is, it's perfect for you and your audience.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about it just a little bit before recording, but any advice for the people who are like, oh, I'll just do it myself, even though I've never put together a website before?
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this, but listen, I'm all for education and teaching yourself and, and all that good stuff. I really do. But I think if you are busy in the business of whatever you're doing, like insert business here, and website design is not that business, then you should consider hiring a website design team or a firm. And this is why. You're busy doing your business. Not only are you doing the business, maybe you're making a product or you're selling a service, but you're also managing your business. And part of that is delegating the design and service of that to a team. So with that, I certainly recommend it. And there's ways you can do it affordably. I think that if you were to try to put together a website with all first you have to learn the platform, whether it's Squarespace, WordPress, even like a Wix. If you want to spend hours and hours and hours looking at YouTube about how to even do the functionality of the site, and then there's the whole strategic and design element. I think I was telling you I put together like based on, let's say you get paid by the hour. If you were to actually DIY your own site over many weeks, I think it ends up being like $42,000. Mm-hmm. Like some ridiculous number because you spend all the time, like time is money, right? Time trying to figure out how to build a site when you're like, I don't know, I sell clothes. Like, why are you building a website? Hire someone to do that. Go sell your beautiful clothes. And, it's a win-win for everyone, right?
Yeah, no, I think, I tell that to people all the time because I'm like, if you are spending every single day and your weekends building a website and getting frustrated and like you said, like looking on YouTube and this and that, I'm like, that is X amount of hours you could have been doing to like make your course or, set up your coaching program or whatever it might be. And so I'm like, you're losing money.
Absolutely. Yeah. But also it's not just the functionality of designing the site. There's strategic elements, of course, that go into creating an experience, right? So that's something that my company does. We really believe in design thinking and the strategy behind that. So we want to know your business, your goals, so we can create messaging and visual experiences around those. Right. So there's a really important factor here. It's not just like, oh, let me figure out how to put a header in or add a picture. It's like, well, what's the story you're telling? So that's where we partner with our clients on developing that story.
Yeah. And then, it's so interesting. For the people who are non-designers out there, can you explain like telling your story? Because they might, because I understand what you're saying, but I'm thinking of for the non-designers, they might be like, well, what do you mean? How would you tell a story on a website? Yeah,
that is a good question. So that is a very good question. So a brand story or a brand narrative, right? What is that? Well, it's basically what your promise and value is. What are you selling as a service or a product? And so I'll just take Squarespace. I'm not affiliated with them beyond the fact that I use them, right, as my platform of service. But their story is that they provide like beautiful, seamless, efficient platforms. Like that's a story right there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they have a really beautiful website that has really clean type and really fluid visuals. And so you get a sense immediately who they are and what they do and why they're unique from, say, a competitor like a WordPress or Wix. So in defining your quote story, it's like, who are you? It's basically your mission. Who are you as a brand or service or product? What are you selling and why are you unique? What differentiates you? So it's basically sharing it's like your promise and your value.
Now, one random question before we get to the wrap-up questions, but we had touched on it a little bit before I hit record about, you said you automate your business. And so can you just touch on like how you've done that? Because I'm all about productivity and trying to share like productivity hacks with entrepreneurs. So I'm just curious like how you were able to like fully automate your business. If you could give us like some examples of that.
Sure. I am what I hope I am, fully automated business. And I wasn't like that at all at the beginning. I was like analog and piecing things together. So now I've become a fully automated business. And I do this for me as a business owner because I'm busy, right, working. And I also do it for my clients and my curious site visitor to make their experience really accessible and easy. So what I've done is simple things. I really embrace third-party platforms and plugins. For example, I use a platform called Acuity. It's a scheduling platform. I know you use Calendly for yours. They're so simple. It's like there's a free tier and then it's like 10 or 15 bucks a month. And basically it empowers my clients or curious parties to book a call with me at their convenience. At their convenience. My schedule is there. If I am working on client work or I have other meetings, I will block off that time. So anything you see that's available on my site is when you can book a call for your next meeting. I think we were saying before we started recording, like I run a creative marketing firm. I'm not in the business of like accountability. Like I'm not going to make any clients do their work. I'm going to partner with them when they're ready. So part of that is giving them the empowering them to do the work that they need to do for the website builds and then giving them the space to make those design meetings come together. I've also really, really automated my proposal and contract experience, and it's been so well received, and I'm really excited about it. I use a proposal platform called Proposify. It's like $19 a month. It is fantastic. Again, I'm not affiliated with them. I just use them.
That's fine, yeah.
It's basically like incredible for any service business. You need to check them out because what they do is they have these boilerplate proposals and you can customize it based on what you need. And the entire proposal process now, instead of like attached as my proposal, it's actually sent through this platform and you can track everything. You can see when your client is reading it. You can put in all these amazing experiences for them, showcase your business. What is their investment? Who are you as a company? Really neat things. And so it's been really wonderful. And then there's also signatures attached there. Like, do you accept this proposal? Separately, I use a company called HelloSign. They are a legally binding contract platform. And so when I'm ready, after that gets signed, I just quickly send off my terms of service. That's my contract. They can read through it. I can see when they open it, and then they just sign it, and we're good to go. I get a copy. They get a copy. I sign. There you go. And then, of course, I also highly recommend an accounting software. So I use FreshBooks. There is HoneyBook. There's Harvest, which is time tracking, and they also have a little bit of, I think, invoicing in there. I think PayPal even has like invoicing, but use it to track your projects. Track everything. You can track all of your invoices if they've been paid, unpaid. You can have automatic reminders, set up auto billing. There's just a ton of neat things that you can do to streamline your business. So those are just a few of the things I use.
No, I love it. I love all kind of tools. Like I'm always curious about what people use.
I think like, cause I'm a sole proprietor and I have a team of creative consultants, but like I use, like their base plans. I think all of them, each one's like under $20 a month. And
it's worth it if it's saving you time.
Oh my gosh, it's saving me hours and hours and hours of time. And by the way, it's saving my clients and potential clients time as well. So it's a win-win, I think, for everyone.
Love it. Okay, just a few wrap-up questions. The first one is, how do you stay organized? Well, that is a good question. I'm pretty organized. You know what? Honestly, I've always been an organized person. My background for my career was in project management. And that was essentially like my job was to kind of run an entire, in this case, a production from, scheduling to budgeting to everything. So I was always very organized. So I have my list of to-dos and I'm just pretty structured in how I work. So my next question is usually what's your favorite tool and software, but we've kind of run through all the amazing tools and softwares.
You know what? I have another one that I love. So those, and I have, by the way, I have them. I actually have like a free, it's like a small business guide in my footer, which is like, I think it's like 16 different categories. It's just like my thoughts on like free or like really affordable services, from like photos to, podcasts that are awesome to just all different kinds of cool tools for like a small business that I like. But I am loving these really cool companies or apps that are providing really awesome visual experiences for Instagram stories. Or Instagram. So I bought, I rarely pay for an app, but I think it was like $1.99. It's called Unfold. It is my favorite app right now. It is a beautiful, beautiful Instagram templated templates, basically very minimal and really pretty. So you can add in really beautiful type fonts, upload your images into like really beautiful squares and rectangles and circles. And it's just really streamlined. So I've really started using that. So I've created my own cohesive look and feel. I know Photoshop very well, but I could have done that in Photoshop, but I'm saving all this time now using Unfold to create like what I think is really pretty stylized versions of like my business.
No, I was just talking to somebody else today about, for YouTube, like I was on iMovie and then I moved over to Premiere Pro because I just hate myself and I want to make my life more difficult.
Yeah, let's make it more challenging for editing.
Exactly. But I was telling her when it comes to like Instagram stories or videos, just for my regular Instagram post, I use Video Leap because it's right on my phone and I can just quickly edit like a video for IG stories. But it's simple. It's like, why do I need to bring out the big guy Premiere Pro for like all these like, 30 or 60-second video clips,
Exactly.
So it's all about
and they're
simplicity.
awesome and it makes it easy for you, right? And then you can use Premiere for other things that you might need.
And last but not least is, can you let the listeners know where to find you? Please let them know your website and any social media handles you want them to know about.
Yeah, sure. So my website is orlovdesignco.com. And that's ORLOV as in Victor, Design Co. And I am just at Orlov Design Co. on Instagram, which is my platform of choice. That's really where you can find me. I'm on Twitter at Rebecca Orlov, which I just have decided thoughtfully years ago to keep Rebecca Orlov as my handle because I post about other things than my business. Like it's snowing in Las Vegas 2 weeks ago, which was so random.
Oh, wow.
And I'm also on Pinterest at Rebecca Orlov. I've been on Pinterest since they were in beta, like 2010. I was like an early invite into Pinterest. So that's kind of a fun, been on them for a while. But yeah, Instagram is like mostly what I do.
And then also, like, if somebody's like, okay, I love everything, I need to hire her, what should they do?
Oh my gosh, I love that. That would be awesome. Thank you. Very flattering. I love that. Sure. So they can go to my website and they can look around, of course, at orlovdesignco.com. There is under contact, you can do email, and I have a form that's already kind of sitting there with about 6 or 7 questions. They can just answer right there. And you know what's cool about that? I get that before our phone call, and I can learn a bit more about their business before we even talk. And that's why I do that. And they can just set up a call right then and there using my scheduling platform that's already embedded inside my website.
Seamless. I love it.
Seamless. Well, I hope so. I really do hope it is seamless. I just hope it's a good experience for our clients.
Well, Rebecca, truly love your work. And thank you for just sharing your knowledge on the podcast today. Appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you. It was so great to meet you and to chat with you. I love your spirit and I love your podcast. I love all the things you're doing. It's awesome.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I think Rebecca really gave some good things to think about when really trying to figure out how to tell the story of your brand. I will tell you guys, and you all have heard me say this on the show before, especially for the brand series. And if you're like, when was the brand series, Nache? Go to episode 56. That's where it starts. And then it's a 4-part series. So definitely check that out. It talks about every part of your brand. But anywho, I do believe that a website is really key. And it just depends on what your budget is. But you should have something that reflects what you do. And as Rebecca said, sometimes it's 3 pages. I've seen beautiful 1-page websites. And then sometimes it's multiple pages, maybe 20 pages, depending on how, extensive your brand is. So for example, if you're selling, several products, like you're going to have different product pages and your website is going to be more complex. Whereas if you're selling a service, sometimes a 1-page website is perfect. Like one of those parallax websites where as you go scroll from section to section, it kind of changes up. But I think a website is key because most people, even if you read different blogs that cover, if you should have a website or not, they'll say that most people, when contemplating to purchase something, will go to somebody's website, especially if it's service-based, because you want to make sure they're legit. You want to see some testimonials. You want to just get to know them a little bit better. And then for product-based businesses too, if I go to somebody's website and it looks sketchy, I am not going to put my credit card in their website. It's just not going to happen. So you need to have a website that looks reputable, that tells the story of your brand and entices people to want to stick around, sign up for your newsletter, or just purchase your product, whatever it might be. I do think it's essential. You just have to determine if and when you want to invest in it. I think time is money. So even for me, of course, I know web design, and so I do all the things myself, but that doesn't mean I'm opposed to paying someone. So right now I have the time for it, but I can see myself in the future paying someone to actually do all the things for me, because then I get that time back to create videos, to edit podcasts, to do all the things. Anyway, I hope you guys found this useful. Head on over to nachesnow.com/82 and she provided like a ton of links. So I have the book she mentioned, all the software that she uses, and even the one she doesn't use, but she mentioned. I have all of that in there. The apps we talked about, so you don't have to search on the internet to find it. I have it all in the show notes for you. And that's nachesnow.com/82. All right, guys, have an amazing week, and I'll have another amazing guest next week. Talk soon. Bye.